Hello, Deep Dive Sports listeners. How are you doing today? Welcome
Hello,
to the first
and
episode.
welcome to the very first episode
Behind
of
the
Daily
Scenes.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
presented by Deep Dive
Sports
Sports.
today.
What
we
up,
are
everybody?
hopping into
Welcome
a
to
new
the first
segment. It's
ever
called our Lights
episode
Out
of
podcast.
Podcast presented by
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of On the Pitch presented by Deep
What's going on,
Dive.
ladies and gentlemen?
I'm your
Deep
host,
Dive
Dom,
Sports
and I will be joined with Chase.
of our Lights Out podcast. We are starting off with a bang.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On the Pitch presented by Deep Dive Sports.
All right, hello, presented by Deep Dive Sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On the Pitch.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hello, Deep Dive Sports fans. How are you doing today? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I know that it's been a hot minute, but here we are with another episode of What Happened To. Today, I am joined with Dom, and we will be asking the question of what happened to Anderson Varejao after the 2016 season. However, before we get into that portion, let's get into who he is and how he got to the NBA. Anderson Varejao was born on September 28th, 1982. He was born in Colatina, state of Espírito Santo, Brazil. Anderson was born to Spatio Antonio and Nelly Varejao and is one of 5 children. Fun fact, his brother, Sandro Varejao, played professionally in their native country of Brazil. On top of that, his niece, Isabel, plays basketball for the University of Michigan. So I guess you can say that playing basketball at a high level or higher level kind of runs in the family to some extent. Now I'll hand it off to Dom to go into a little bit further detail.
Sounds good. So, when doing some research on Varejao, there wasn't much information on his life pre, his basketball career. So, no specific school or anything that he went to was listed, other than he just stopped going to school after he graduated high school. He wanted to focus on his basketball career, so instead of going to college, he just started playing basketball. So, how did he get noticed by the NBA playing in Brazil? It's not really a country that you think of where a lot of foreign players come from. You normally think of Spain or other European countries. So, like I mentioned, after he stopped going to school, he dedicated his life to basketball. He started playing pro basketball in Brazil in 1998 for Francia Basketball Club. He played there until 2002. He actually did pretty well. He averaged 17.7 points per game, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks per game. From there, he went to FC Barcelona Basket. I played there from 2002 to 2004. His numbers dipped a little bit, averaged 8.2 points and 6 rebounds a game. And after his stint there, he decided to enter into the NBA draft. So the question is, how did he get on the Cavaliers, right? Well, he was actually drafted in the second round. I believe he was the last pick. He was like the 30th pick in the second round in the 2004 draft by the Orlando Magic. And on draft night, the Cavs traded for him along with Drew Gooden and Stephen Hunter in exchange for Tony Battle and 2 future second-round picks. I think the Cavs kind of won this trade. He became a pretty special player for the Cavs, especially during his first stint with the team. He was kind of that energy guy, kind of was the heart and soul of the team, I guess. The team was led by LeBron, but I think the team kind of fed off Varejao's energy. So I guess it's kind of what made him special. He wasn't, an outstanding player. He wasn't going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He wasn't going to be an NBA first team. But I don't think the Cavs teams in the early 2000s would have been as successful if he wasn't on the team.
Yeah, him along with, I guess you could say Big Z as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of really made the front court or interior defense for not the Indians, for the Cavaliers during that first few years at least. So, what did you personally think of Anderson Varejao?
Honestly, growing up, he was one of my favorite players just for that energy and the heart and determination that he brought into every game. He was one of those guys that never quit. He always gave it his best, and I respected that even from such a young age watching basketball. Obviously you could tell he wasn't the best player out there, but he damn near tried his best.
Yeah, for me it was the fact that he wasn't always the most popular person on the team,
Hmm.
and he really emphasized the, I guess you could say, mindset of Cleveland to some
Yeah,
degree.
yeah, absolutely.
Because Cleveland is not the best city in the world. No one's just gonna want to come live here because everything's here. Because it's not.
Yeah,
Most people are here because either they had no other choice or they're from here. So for me, it was the fact that he emphasized the idea of Cleveland really working hard and pushing through pretty much anything, really.
yeah. He definitely had. Cleveland's always been a blue collar, hardworking city, and he definitely had that
Mm,
kind of spirit about him.
yeah, definitely. Uh, so to kind of get on to the main topic of what kind of happened to Anderson Varejao after the 2016 season, because if you may recall, he started with the team in 2016 or 2015, 2016, but didn't really end with the team
Hmm.
because he got traded to the Golden State Warriors before the trade deadline in the 2016 season. So the Cavaliers actually won the championship against the Warriors that year. And even though Anderson played for the Cavaliers for majority of the season and was offered the ring for that season, he actually rejected it on the grounds that he played for the opposition. So
Yeah.
from there, he started the 2016-17 season with the Golden State Warriors, only to be released by the team on February 3rd, 2017. Yeah. The
Felt so
Warriors
bad.
would, huh?
Felt so bad for him.
Yeah. The Warriors would go on to win the championship. And this time, however, Varejao would accept the ring when offered by the team. So, and from there, after kind of like the 2017 season, he would eventually go and sign a 20-month contract with a native Brazilian team called the Flamengo. He played the second half of the 2017-2018 season and then continued to play for that team in the 2018-2019 season. Now, the reason why we wanted to bring this What Happened To episode on Anderson Varejao was because this past season, for those who don't know, Varejao signed on May 4th a 10-day contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The team extended that 10-day contract after the first 10 days to a second contract. And he would later retire as a Cleveland Cavalier. What do you think of the 10-day contracts that he signed this past season in order to retire as a Cavalier?
I think it was a good move by the team. You know, like I said, he was one of the key fixtures of those early 2000s teams that were pretty successful. They didn't win a championship, but they were some of the best Cavs teams that I've ever seen. Obviously, not as good as 2015 to 2019, but there were still some really good teams, and he was one of the main guys. I could definitely see the Cavs maybe retiring his number sometime in the near future. But I like bringing him in. I think it just feels right, a player like that to come back to the team that he spent so many years with and letting him retire as a member of the team. But he wasn't with the team that long this last year, but I'm sure a lot of the young guys on this team, because it's a pretty young team. I still think they have the youngest roster in basketball.
Yeah, I think they do.
Just his
Or at least
veteran
one of the
presence.
or at least one of the
Yeah,
youngest.
yeah. I
Sorry.
think even for such a short time, his veteran presence in that locker room, I'm sure they learned some really valuable lessons from him. Uh, so I think it was a good move all around.
Yeah, just to end his career as a Cavalier, because he didn't technically retire when he was let go from Golden State. He,
Hmm.
he eventually came back. I think the fact that he came back to end his career as a Cavalier is great,
Yeah.
both for the team and for himself, really. Because I guess you could say not too many people get to retire with the team in which they started with.
Hmm.
And yes, we stated that he got drafted by Orlando, then shortly after was traded to the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I think he was traded on draft night.
Yeah. So you can't really say that, oh, he got drafted by the Orlando Magic. Why didn't he end his career there? Like,
He never
yeah,
played for him.
yeah, he never suited up for him. Yeah, his name was called when it was their pick, but he got traded immediately after.
Yeah, I don't even think he got on a plane to Orlando.
Yeah, no. He got on a plane wherever he was at that time and immediately came to Cleveland.
Hmm.
So I think it, for both him and the city, well, more for the city than anything else, I'm glad that he ended his career here so that he could be remembered by every generation, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that this was probably a really, really quick episode today, but any kind of like final thoughts on the episode?
No, I think this was a topic that I was pretty excited to talk about because growing up a big Cavs fan, you know, I watched Anderson Varejao play almost every night. Um, everyone knew him as Wild Thing with the crazy hair and
Yeah.
just the energy that he brought to the court. It was he was definitely a fun player to watch. Over the years when I was growing up, definitely look back on those days pretty fondly. So you know getting the recognition that he deserves coming back end of last season, it was definitely good to see, and I'm glad we got to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm glad to see it happen too because, like you said, outside of LeBron, most people, at least growing up, for me at least, most people went to see LeBron, but they
Hmm.
also went to see Anderson Varejao Wild Thing.
Yeah.
Because outside of LeBron, Anderson and kind of Big Z were the only two players that anyone really remembers from those early 2000s to late 2000s teams.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean,
For the most
if
part, like you said.
yeah, if you're not a diehard Cavs fan, you're not going to remember, Drew Gooden being on the team. You're not going to remember Darius Miles or Boobie Gibson.
Yeah, exactly. But when most people think of the Cavs, when you're just kind of like a casual fan,
Hmm.
LeBron and then those two guys are some of the guys you remember the most from that early 2000s teams.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he got to be able to retire as a Cavalier.
Hmm.
So, anyways, to end this episode, I want to say thank you for Dom for joining me today.
No
I
problem.
want to say thank you to the listeners or viewers for tuning into this episode. I'm glad that we were able to do this. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did, and we'll see you in the next one. So have a good one.